Hello, and welcome to the Early Bird Special with your hosts, Carole Montgomery and Julia Scotti. And now, here's Carole Montgomery.
I'm going to sing a song like we've got music because that's how I am now, because I haven't figured out. Because I don't know what I'm doing. And hello! Jesus. Old people doing technology. Seriously, folks, seriously. So welcome. Welcome to the Early Bird Special, ladies and gentlemen. It is Tuesday, December 8th, Safe Harbor Day. And if you don't know what that is, look it up because I'm not going to explain it. We are in our 8th month of lockdown, quarantine, pandemic. We don't really know what's happening. And I know that our guest, who's from California, they're in lockdown. We're going to find out all about that, the second lockdown. I think New York City is about to go into another lockdown, and New Jersey. So that's going to be fun because I have decided that I am never wearing jeans again. Just putting that out there. I have dress yoga pants now, which I think is really great. Because you can't really see me, so it doesn't really matter anymore, people. Does it really matter? We're never leaving the house. So news, of course, the vaccine. It looks like it's going to be good. But I do have a problem because I think that the people who aren't wearing the masks are not going to do the vaccine. So we're going to be stuck here forever. That's the point. I'm very, very uplifting today. What else is happening? Just because we are in quarantine, I know I'm late to the game, and I'll see if the ladies have also watched this, but just finished up the 6 seasons of Schitt's Creek, which, oh my God, how did I not know about this stuff? But wow, what a show. What an amazing show. The acting, the writing. It was so much fun to watch it's not new, but a new series. And to see from the first time, one of the things I love, I'm a big sitcom baby. And one of the things I love about the sitcoms is how well they're done when it is done well. You know, I'm a big believer. I love Bob Newhart, the Mary Tyler Moore Show. Of course, I love Lucy. And what I loved about Schitt's Creek, from the first episode, from the pilot, the characters were there, and they were set, and they were funny, and through the 6 seasons, they morphed into these wonderful human beings. Because when you write a sitcom, everyone always says character, and those characters were so there, and that they grew and became different was so great to me, and it was a pleasure to watch it. It was like we were doling them out because we finally, because they're only 20 minutes long because commercials. And my husband and I last night, we were like, we literally down to the last 4, and I looked at him and I went, let's just do this. And of course I cried because it was the end of it and I don't know what to watch next. So when we talk about all this great stuff, if you have any new play, we're watching The Crown now, which is complete 360. Also a great show, but so not that. And of course we watched The Queen's Gambit. So if anyone has any ideas for sitcoms that are good, real sitcoms, please, not what is being played on television as we speak. Anyway, I am rambling as I usually do. We have a big show today, so I want to bring on Julia, and then I want to bring on our fabulous guest. So let me bring my co-host, my lovely and wonderful friend. Hello, Miss Julia. Julia.
Episodes. That's what I've been watching. I finished last night. Episodes. You gotta watch it.
What is Episodes?
Matt LeBlanc and Anson Greg. God, I can't remember the guy's name, but it's on Netflix now. It was originally on Showtime. Oh my God, it's so good.
Really?
I cried when it was over. 5 seasons.
5 seasons. Okay, I'm not a big Matt LeBlanc fan.
Trust me, this is Matt as you've seen him before.
Okay, I will. I do trust you,
Matt, because I just spent 5 seasons with him.
Well, I think it's only fair that I trust you, since you trust me whenever I tell you to do stuff.
I went back and I'm watching for the first time all of the episodes of 30 Rock, and just brilliant.
That was one of my son's favorite, still one of my son's favorite shows. And so I haven't actually, when I watch it, I like it, but it's interesting because everyone says it, and it's a great show, but I it still doesn't, I don't know, maybe because
Schitt's Creek left me. I got nothing for Schitt's Creek. I
You didn't
tried it
like
three times already, and I can't, I don't give a shit, Creek. I don't care about these people. I'm not involved with them.
That's
nothing.
fascinating. Yeah.
And I love Eugene Levy is one of my favorite people. What's her name?
Catherine O'Hara.
Catherine O'Hara. I love her. Chris Elliott. I mean, all of them. But it's just a pile of shit for me. It's just
wow.
Yeah.
That's why we live in America, because we can disagree. I'm getting a new co-host next week, so I would never get rid of Julia. I love her too much because Julia actually does work for this, and I think I love that about you. Because I get an email from her. She goes, "Oh, I saw this thing that Barb was talking about. I want to talk about comedy." And I was like, "Barb has a thing on YouTube?" I didn't even know, because I've been friends with this woman for so long. So you know what? Why don't we just bring her out and we can discuss comedy? She is like comedy royalty. Do you know what I mean? Let me just. We're a little fuzzy. Anyway, I'm going to bring her on. She's a manager. She's a writer. She's a performer. She is she's my Yoda. She really is, because I love her to death, and she really is comedy royalty because she knows her shit. So let's bring her on. Everybody, welcome Barb North. Hi, Barb.
Hello. Oh, you guys, I'm so excited.
Hi, Barb.
Hi, I have to say, because I was listening to you and talking, I was in the green room, right?
Yeah,
is that where I was? Oh,
yeah.
Cute. And episodes, the best. Episodes is awesome. Schitt's Creek, we tried it 3 times, same thing. The last time we tried it in the mid, maybe season 4, maybe we'll start there. Can't do it. It's
I know
not working.
what it is. What it is.
Yeah. But Doc Martin, you guys. 9 seasons. Doc Martin, you will die. It is
Wait a minute.
so funny. Doc Martin.
The shoes?
Yes, similar to the shoes, but the series. But I do like to watch the shoes. I'll pull them off the shelf and just sit for hours.
So wait a minute. What is it? What is this on? I'm writing it down because
Doc Martin was originally on BBC, and I think you can get it on. You get some of it on Netflix. Maybe it was Hulu to find the rest or something. We watched it years ago and just rewatched it because it's Martin Clunes. It's British. He plays a surgeon who is the nastiest, most unhappy man on the planet. And then he suddenly can't stand the sight of blood. So he becomes a community doctor in this little seaport village. And it is wonderful. The best character work, hilarious.
Where's
good.
What is it?
Where can we watch it?
I think Netflix might have it, and I think Hulu might have it. That's my.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's Doc Martin.
DOC and then Martin. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So,
But I gotta say, I am madly in love with Tamsin Gregg from seasons. Episodes, I mean, the British woman that's on
Oh,
that show.
she's fabulous. Yeah.
And the girl is unbelievably funny. Them together were perfect.
okay,
Yeah.
well, now I have more stuff to watch because that's the first thing we want to talk about. So, Barb, what are you? You're in Southern California, so are you? What's happening? Are you locked down? Are you able to go anywhere? What's going
Well,
on?
it's really hard for me to tell a difference because I've been locked out since March 10th. We've
Right.
had no cleaning people in the house since March 10th, which sucks. I turned into a housewife again. I have no idea how that happened. And it's like, I forget that you can use a laundry basket to carry the laundry. So I'm dropping shit. And
Wow.
I guess.
Hold on, we're losing you. Hold on.
Are you there? Can I?
Yeah, now we can hear.
Can you do us a favor? Do me and us, the rest of us, not Carole, she knows you, but I don't know, well, the audience doesn't know you at all. So it's like a little short, like a bio, like a 30-second what you've done and things like that.
I would love to. Okay, so Steve and I, my husband, were a comedy team in the 70s and 80s and 90s, and somewhere in the 90s we started we were writing for television shows. We were head writers for the Gong Show that was on in the 80s, and produced a bunch of different shows, and then we've always taught comedy. So then all of a sudden, people that we were teaching started getting good. So we started managing comedians. We had a manager at the same time. So we would introduce our comics to our manager. Here's your grand manager. And then he passed away in the 90s, and we never replaced him because we were doing so much more that wasn't performing. So that's kind of our history. We're silly people.
They're very silly people. They are such silly people. They are. I can't even tell you how silly these fucking people are.
She brought up an interesting video. I watched your videos, and one of the things you mentioned was that even you represent people who are not stand-ups, right? Sometimes.
Some actors, yeah. We have a couple of actors.
You made them do stand-up.
Yes. One in particular, one of our guys, he was about 20 years old when we signed him. He's a great actor and he's a funny guy, but he had no interest in stand-up. And we made him sit in our classes and put 5 minutes together and helped him do that. And his first opportunity was for a Disney online series. He had 7 auditions, and they asked him to do his stand-up at every audition. And that really got him the role.
Wow.
His first series.
Wow.
Yeah.
But he wasn't a stand-up. He was a comic.
No, but because we do, we teach stand-up, and I have to plug Steve's book. Am I holding it right?
You're holding it right. And I think I'm in one of the recommendations. I plug that
Yes.
all the time.
Yeah.
Why is that important that your client knew stand-up? And I mean, Carole and I know the answer to that, but
Our audience.
Yeah. So there are several reasons. One is we focus in on who are you comedically, who and it's your core. It's not a caricature that you take on. Caricatures are fine for sketch, but it's your true self. But maybe it's this much of you, and it becomes all of you when you're on stage. Because if it's all of you all the time, then you can't function and they lock you up. But it's what's wrong with you. What's dysfunctional about you, and it's finding that character as your base. So the first thing is that base is always what you use to audition. And the second reason is that actors love to get in plays and try to invite industry people to come. And guess what? They never do. Because for them to spend a whole night watching a play with maybe 4 or 5 people in it, as opposed to stopping in on clubs and seeing comics, they can see 200 people in a night if they wanted to. So just logistically, business-wise, it's really smart for your creativity and for finding your base, but it's also really smart business-wise.
I'm sorry, Carole, did you have a question? Because I have one.
No. I'm just listening. I'm fascinated.
Okay, so let's take somebody like Liz Tomlin, then, who's not stand-up per se. You wouldn't call her stand-up, right? But brilliant nonetheless. And all characters. Are all of those characters her?
All of those characters are her caricatures, her sketch characters that she does. But if you notice in Lily's shows, between every character, between every bit, she talks to you. And that's her comedic character. That's where she's coming from. She'll walk around the stage. I remember in one of her earliest things, she'll do a character for a while, and then she'll walk around the stage and go, why is it that the same people that sell you the product to remove wax buildup sold you the wax? And then she'll go back to, why is it? And she's got kind of, her comedic character is kind of this, I don't get it, the world is really strange. And that's her comedic core. Then she goes into the characters. But her core is because stand-up and sketch are different.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Sketch is much more exaggerated, and sketch can cover who you are and be funny. Not question that it's funny, but for stand-up, if you don't know your core of who you are, you don't know what to talk about. You don't know what attitude to have. You don't know what point of view you have. You don't know any of that until you know who you are comedically. Does that answer?
Yeah, well, yeah, because when I came back, I assume you know my story, but when I came back, I found because I was being more internally myself, my character just naturally came out on stage. I don't know, do you find, I mean, I know you off stage and on stage, and I think you are totally honest up there, and that character that you portray is you on and off stage.
Are you talking to me?
Yeah.
Oh, I was too busy. I was like, this is so fascinating. So I mean, I'm just a Brooklyn kid on stage. Do you know what I mean? And maybe I'm a little more exaggerated for it, but that's who I am. I mean, everyone knows that. But then, both of you know, there's a really, I shouldn't be saying this, but there's a real soft side to me that people don't know about, that nobody should know about. But for the most part, when I'm on stage, I'm that, take no prisoners bullshit.
Yeah, I was just going to say, take no prisoners. And she takes no shit. She's absolutely in your face. Don't even bother kind of thing. And there's that part of her. And it becomes all of her when she's on stage. She has a great comedic character. But when she's off stage, I've seen her cry. I've seen her hug. She's a sensitive, warm, neat person. Who the hell wants to see that on stage?
Exactly. Yeah, my life is so great, and I make cookies, and I love everybody. People are like,
I found, in self-discovery mode, as I said, over these last 8 years now, since I did 9 years, that my stage persona is such, a character. It's really just this sort of internal dialogue that's always going ahead. It gets verbalized on stage. It just happens there and they're along for the ride. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely, it does. But here's something that I want to ask, and both of you. But Barb, by the way, Barb's heard me say this a million times. You haven't heard me say this about Barb, but I've always said that I want to be Barb when I grow up. Because Barb is older than both of us, and she looks like she's 12 years old. Okay, so let's just go there.
She does look great.
I'm 73.
She's 73. Okay, so she's way old.
On the show.
But the thing I really want to delve into this, and we don't really talk about it as a lot, is Barb. Now you've been in this business a very long time. What do you feel about the ageism that's going on? Do you feel that you are dismissed in any way when you talk to industry, or is it that they know you so they respect you?
I haven't found the person that respects me yet, but when you find them, let me know. Ageism has been going on in this business for a really, really long time. I mean, that's just what is. And you know who started it? Us, my generation. Don't trust anyone over 30, all this stuff. We hated youth, okay? Then we weren't youth anymore. And I remember my 60th birthday. I went into a deep depression and I lit, I didn't even light a Yortzeit candle. I lit one of those great big Catholic candles. That burned for 8 days to mourn the loss of my youth. So, you got to still be who you are. And I don't know why it still works, but like during the pandemic, Steve and I are getting a shit ton of auditions because they're looking for old couples that can all both work together. Wow. So, wow. It's the first time that being a team has been helpful.
Wow. That's amazing.
So, but in general, I think people's concept of what's old, if of what old looks like continually is changing.
Yeah.
So I think it's just more, you have to embrace wherever you're at. I mean, I've never tried to be younger. I'm fortunate to look younger, but it just happened. It's genetic. It's not anything I do or anything. But, you know, I come right up front about it, you know, and people make fun of me and go, oh, Barb, you're always saying you're old. You're not that old. And that's a 35 or 40-year-old going, age is in your head. And I'm like, yeah, we'll have a conversation when you're 73. Because it's different. Life is different internally. Even though you look in the mirror and go, what just happened? You do feel if you're aging as you should be in life, your experiences should change. Your perspective should change. And I think that's what you bring to the table as you age, you know? So that's what I'm bringing. Nobody wants it, fine. But if anybody does, that's what I bring.
I totally agree with that. And it does, the comedy takes on a as you get older. And that's how I like to refer to it. It's like antique wood, you know, and it's just richer and has more day as it gets old. It's anyway. I mean, do you find that, Carol? I know. Well, your shows are all about that. The Women of Age shows, all about
Right.
that experience.
Well, you know, I've said this before, you know, I mean, when I turned 50 that I was like, oh, wow, nobody's looking at me. Like, not that people were stopping on the street. Do you know what I mean? But like, there was nothing. I went from 49 to 50, like, I might have, you know, the line I have is I could walk by a construction site naked and they'd be like, lady, your nipples is getting bloody from scraping on the sidewalk. Do you know what I mean? Like, nobody, that's the thing that hit me the most and why I wanted to do the special was to go, wait a minute, just because we've turned this age doesn't mean that we're any less vital. You know, I think, and I've always said this, Barb and I have talked about this even before the special, about, you know, we're the ones, comics, if you're a real good comic, you've got your life to talk about and everything about your life. So when there are young comics that are good and but they don't have the meat that I think that you have from being around all these years. So, you know, I mean, I'm sure people in the industry are like, no, young. It's like, oh, well, okay.
And they always did that, Carol. And they, you know, remember when they used to look for comics for Montreal and for new faces and stuff, and they'd say young, and you know, people would lie about their age and all that kind of stuff. But the truth is, it's really hard to do stand up when you're 18. Right. All you have is what the teacher said and what your parents said, and it's like, so what? Who cares? You know, we all live that. And I think you're right, Julia, what you're saying about that perspective that you get. For me, it's like being a time traveler. You know, and you see history repeating itself. I think you freak out less and you kind of, you know, what you bring to the table. Like, right, I've done Carol's show a couple of times, the live show, which is amazing and so fun because you can get up there and not even have it be an issue. You know, yeah, I've been married 53 years and the time goes so fast. Can't even believe it's 53 years. It feels more like 52 years. And, you know, it's just any of that stuff. And, you know, we went through a sexual revolution. And I talk about how we do have more of a traditional marriage in that, you know, Steve has been a guy the whole time, but we tried things, you know, we tried an open marriage. Nobody came. I tried being a bisexual in that if Steve would buy me things, I would have sex with him. Wasn't worth it. So those kind of things that I can make reference to what happened in the 60s and what happened in the 70s. And now that we're going through what we're going through politically, people are interested again.
It's funny you mentioned.
Why?
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Because we had Nixon and now we have Trump. And, you know, I mean, I never thought I'd say I missed Nixon, but, you know, I mean, because Trump is worse. But we've been through things and I think it keeps.
We lost you.
I said, I think it keeps you calmer.
Well, you mentioned it's tough being a stand-up at 18, and I almost jumped, and that's how alternative comedy was, because 18-year-old doesn't really know how to do stand-up, but that's not fair to alternative comedy. There's a lot to be said for just being an art. But you had commented on that on your video that I watched. You talked about alternative versus stand-up. And you made some really valid points. You want to just a couple of them?
Yeah, I don't know which video you're referring to, but that's okay. Yeah, I mean, I remember when alternative comedy, people were, that at Montreal, all of a sudden it was like, oh, go to the alternative comedy show at midnight, and you went because Andy Kindler was there, but funny is funny, okay? And a lot of times comics are very snobbish about what is funny.
Oh yeah.
If you sing, there's something wrong with you. If you wear a prop, there's something wrong, or use a prop, there's something wrong. And all of it is funny. I mean, prop comedy, it better be funny or you're really embarrassed that you're holding this whole big prop and no one laughed. But it's like one of my clients, Kristen Key, she does comedy and music, and she was on. Yeah, and she was on Last Comic Standing. She was a finalist seasons back. I think it was Josh Blue won that season. And she did no music then. She writes hilarious songs. She has an amazing voice. And now, she's evolved so much that she'll sit with a guitar strumming it, and she'll say something like, my wife and I are thinking about having kids, but I don't know if I want to have kids. And then she'll strum the guitar and go, because I hate them. It's just singing that punchline is so effective for her. And because of music, now during the pandemic, and she embraced the virtual comedy thing, and it understood that it wasn't, I'm going to figure out how to stand up and put a brick wall behind me. She's doing corporate events. She's doing all kinds of stuff, and getting paid well for it because she can adapt.
One thing with Kristen, wasn't she one of the comics that was stuck on the cruise ship?
Yes, she was the first one on the ship that was off the coast of California. They sat in the Oakland Harbor. She was quarantined starting right around March 1st. So I was really pandemic conscious then. Kind of early on, and they kept her on the ship. They tested some people, and then they didn't give them the results or anything, but then Pence went on the air and said there are 28 people positive on that ship. I think it was the Golden Princess or the Diamond. No. It wasn't the Diamond. The Diamond wasn't. And that's how they found out they were positive. And then Trump immediately said, I don't want them to come off the ship because I don't want my numbers to be messed up.
Wow.
Because there were 15 positive cases in the US when they were on the ship.
Wow.
And she's sitting there in her own country off the coast of California and has to stay on a ship for 10 more days because he doesn't want his numbers messed up.
So how long was she on the ship for?
She was on the ship. Well, they came back from Hawaii early because of that. They thought they were going to take them off. They didn't let them off. They were on there for 10 days. Then they took them to, it might have been March Air Force Base, but one of the Air Force bases for 14 days.
Wow.
And during those 14 days, they were each in their own room. They could only go out for a walk with a mask. They brought them meals. They, If you sent her a package, she had to wait 3 days before she could get it, or if she ordered anything from Amazon. And then a week into it, they said, it's optional, but if you'd like to get tested, you can. So she got tested. And the next week, it was a week later, they just said, okay, everybody can leave. She never got her test results. She never got test results.
Wow. Did she get paid to be there, or what happened? Like, what happens in a situation like that?
We were able to work that out.
Okay. Because
I don't know that that's what they wanted to do, but
Right.
but she ended up getting paid to quarantine for 2 weeks.
Oh,
So
good.
she certainly got paid while they were on the ship too.
Right.
So but then I had another one just right when she was in quarantine. Then I had another one that was trying to get off. That was supposed to get off the ship in San Juan, and they wouldn't let the ship in. And then that lasted like 4 or 5 days until he finally got off.
Wow.
He like when they ported, he like got off so fast, even though they hadn't called the comedians and the crew yet. And the rest of the comedians did not get off. They didn't let them off, and they were on for maybe 4 or 5 more days.
Wow.
Yeah, and I don't know what happened in terms of paying those people. I don't know if they got it. It depends on the line too.
Now, would you? Because I've talked to other comics who've done the cruise ships. Like, would you have you spoken to your clients that work the cruise ships? I mean, like, I don't think, like, I went on that one cruise when I was working on the Melissa Etheridge cruise, and Todd and I had the best time. But I have to be honest, I don't know if I wanted. I don't like that's to me the last thing that's going to come back is cruise ships.
I totally agree, and I think most of my clients agree. Although there are a couple that I have a couple of clients that are like, whatever, I'll fly,
Right.
And that's fine. And if it's working for them, I'm not going to their shows.
Yeah.
But and then I have. I mean, some of them just hate cruises, so it's like, oh, there's a good reason to be off the cruise, because it's not as much as being on the ship. They're not as concerned about some of them, but because the cruises route you with whatever's cheapest on the computer for air.
Right.
You can fly. If you're coming out of New York and you're going to Miami, they could fly you to Detroit.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then Charlotte and then Miami. So people, and it often takes them 10, 12, 14 hours to get on a ship in Miami from where they were, let alone when they come back from islands. Yeah. And so a lot of them are more worried about how are they now going to get routed? Because there's a lot less flights.
Right.
So what happens if air hasn't come back all the way and you have to get on a cruise and you have to fly around the world to get to the cruise that's, 2 hours from your house?
Yeah. I mean, to me, I just, like I look at old pictures of me at concerts with my kid, with Lane, and I'm like, I can't even imagine ever doing that again. I mean, I know we will have the vaccine, but I was talking about this, I think one of the last shows, I was literally at Whole Foods, and they have the little spaces where you're supposed to, and this woman was up my ass. And I finally turned around, I said, can you back off? And she apologized. Because New Yorkers, we're all like trying to get back into that. Yeah. But like, I just don't know. I don't know if I would be willing to do that. I know Julia's done indoor shows too, right? Julia, you've done a bunch of indoor shows.
Not a bunch of them. I've done a couple of them, but they were very well run and very, everybody was very well protected. So.
Yeah, but like another friend who will remain nameless, another comic, said she just did a show. I want to say Pennsylvania. It's either Penn or Jersey. And she said that when she got there, she was wearing a mask. And then the people who had booked the show, as soon as they got into the green room, they're like, oh, well, we don't have to wear a mask. And she's like, keep your mask on. Like I don't understand how people are still doing that.
I don't know.
I had, 2 people. One of my clients went to a show that he was doing, and it was supposed to be all fine, and it absolutely wasn't. And the other person that was on the bill with him, who's another comic that we both know, she got there and went, what the fuck?
Was this the outdoor show?
The what?
Was it an outdoor show that had to go indoors?
Yes.
I know who you're talking about.
Yes. And she left. Yeah. She had her kid with her.
Yep.
Her mother died of COVID.
Right.
Yeah. And she's like, I'm out of here. And my client said, I had already driven there and I already thought I should go, but then he was really sorry. Not that anything has happened, but right. He said that was so uncomfortable. I don't want to do that again.
Yeah. I mean, I had a show about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I booked it 6 months ago. because we all thought this was going to be over. And I kept saying to Todd, I think I'm going to cancel this. I think I'm getting nervous, And then when I tried to cancel it, the booker was like, well, they wanted you and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay. And then literally that was when we had the COVID scare, because Todd was playing ball with some schmuck who went to Arizona and didn't quarantine. And so, we had right when I was thinking about this. So I just said to the guy, I can't, and I ended up, and then literally the week that I was supposed to do it, that Wednesday, it was a Friday gig, Pennsylvania said, nope, no more indoor stuff. So, I mean, I've had this discussion on seminars. I think we talked about it when we were doing the LOCA thing. You have to, people who are watching, you have to make that choice yourself. Like my girlfriend, who was uncomfortable when they took off their masks in the green room, I said, I would have left. I would have said, either keep your mask on or I'm leaving, like what the other comic did. She just went, fuck it, I'm leaving, You have
but for comics too, and I you guys understand this. I don't know if other people understand this, but it's like, how college kids can't help themselves. They have to go to fraternity parties and hang out at bars because they have to, because they're,
right.
Comics are addicted to being on stage.
Oh yeah.
Let's be honest. And so I think that's the pull and tear. It's like, oh, I get to do a set. And so you have to look at what your risk is. And, it's not something I would do. Cruises are not something I love cruises, but I don't think it's going to be a long time before I'll go on one.
Yeah.
I got a comedy question.
Okay.
You were talking about the guitar, the prop thing earlier. And the guitar, the girl who plays the guitar, and that good for her that she's getting corporate work like that. But I'm looking at this thing, watching Kate Micucci. You're familiar with her work, right?
I'm not, no.
Then never mind. Well, she plays ukulele, and she's an actress, but she's
okay. I think I might know.
Big, wide-eyed, kind of very okay. But she, you talk about laughs per minute in one of your tapes too. She's not exactly consistent laughs per minute, yet she's done very, very well for herself as an actress and with the, on stage, the live on stage stuff. She was part of a duo with some other, I can't remember.
Yeah, I know who you're talking. It was like Garfunkel and Oates, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Garfunkel and Oates. That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not exactly, laugh out loud funny, but they're very, very popular.
Well, it's about entertainment. And when you look at, I remember with all the stand-up snobs that are out there, and they're mostly guys. I'm sorry. But I remember at the Chicago Comedy Festival years ago, the old one, the original one, right? And Don Rickles was there, and he had a full orchestra behind him. And he used music and he used all that. And of course, they're all gaga over Don Rickles. And then they're criticizing comedians that use music. Right. If you have a skill, use it. I represent a comedian named Brian Kellen, who he tours with George Lopez. He's just one of the funniest guys ever, but he's a physical comic. His punchlines are physical. He does amazing things with his body. I don't know how he does it, but it always makes you laugh. I mean, hysterically laugh. Do you want to say he's not a stand-up because he's moving around all the time? I mean, he's using his body. That's his instrument.
Okay. Yeah. I have a question, but finish what you're saying.
The point is that stand-up is it's your own creation. What you're doing up there on stage, you're the writer, the director, the performer, the producer, you're all of it. And you have to use your resources that entertain an audience. And if all you're doing is microphone and your voice, you better pay attention to laughs per minute. Whether it's a laugh for your facial expression or a laugh for a comment or a laugh for a lack of comment, but it's using what you have to entertain people.
So here's my
next. Can I just jump in there? Sure. The laughs per minute. Yeah, but we're in a business, and for us to we all have tried out for television stuff,
right?
And it's always about laughs per minute. So
absolutely,
even if you're true to yourself, and are not, are not exactly a laughs, 30 laughs
Yeah,
per minute
yeah.
kind of comic. So what do you do? What do you do? What's your advice to comics?
Well, if it's for television, it is laughs per minute, and you should be tightening things up, and probably something that you're going to do on stage that takes 10 minutes is your 4-minute set, because you're going to get rid of anything extraneous. I remember one time, this was for the Tonight Show. This was years back, and it was before Jimmy Brogan was booking for Jay, and the people that were booking for Jay were not quite understanding comedy that much. But a comic friend of mine, they were watching him do his set at like 20 different clubs and honing it down and honing it down. And he did something, and someone in the audience said something, and he went, yeah, yeah. And then he continued. And their notes to him was, cut the yeah, yeah. I mean, they didn't even get the fact that he was just responding to what was in the room.
Right. So,
go ahead.
No, the question I was going to say, and it's in the same vein of this, is that, and you talked about the comedy snobs. So when Hannah Gadsby came out with her special, holy shit, you would have thought that she was so, the men went after her like I've never seen. Well, that's not stand up, that's a TED Talk. So did you see the special?
Yes. And I know exactly what you mean, and we've heard it before, and we've heard it forever. It just, I know someone who's involved with a storytelling association, and I was doing storytelling through, remember, Carole, with Spark, and then before storytelling it was just getting started then, right?
Right.
And the way that storytelling went is that you wrote a story and you read the story. And it was a very cool event, but you read the story with some life and expression and like you're reading, but that's the format they chose. And the person that was in the Storytelling Association told me it wasn't storytelling. So I don't think it's just stand-up. I mean, the other person that was in the Storytelling Association that believes that it's storytelling is you kind of meander and you don't ever read it. It's just, what works. Storytelling means communicating a story to the audience.
Hannah Gadsby to me was breathtaking.
It was.
I watched the end of it. I go, I'm never going on stage again. I'm never going to perform again.
So, I mean, the thing is that you have to find your style. And if it turns out that you're not going to pass in a certain environment and you can't hone that set down enough to tighten it up because it's not the right approach for you, then maybe that particular place isn't the right format for you.
I can think of somebody from back in the 80s of a club in New York that Carole and I both know very well. And I went to this person 3 times, and I was told all 3 times that I wasn't right for the club.
And I know exactly what you're talking about.
and what that means is I have the power to have my own taste. That's what that person is saying. I have the power to have my own taste because it's my club. And I don't want you here because I want the people on my stage to do this.
Right.
Now, if this matches, that's when you brought up Lily Tomlin. I don't know if you ever knew Irene Pinn. She was Lily's first manager. And she had never managed before, and Lily was just starting to perform, and they just went, let's do this. I don't know what a manager does, but let's do it. And Irene told us about the first time they brought Lily into the Improv. And now I'm talking about the days.
In New York or in LA?
In New York.
Okay.
There wasn't one. I don't think it was in LA yet. But originally the Improv was, there would be a music act, then there would be a comedy act, then there would be a music act, then there would be a comedy act. And Lily went up and did her set, and the sets were longer then. They were like 20 minutes. And Irene's telling us this story, and she said, so we put it on the stage at the Improv to see how it would work. And she said, and it worked. And we went, oh, so she killed? And she went, oh no, she totally tanked, but it worked. And that was Lily getting her start. So just because it doesn't work in a certain environment doesn't mean it doesn't work.
Well, in my case, it did work. It worked all 3 times.
And there's that too.
And it just was like, well, what do you want? What do you want from me?
Yeah, I want you to be someone else is what they wanted from you. And that's pretty hard to be. We went through that because we were a team. And it's like, so with writing, and it's why we were able to be way more successful in writing, a team only gets paid like one person. So we were cheaper. You get 2 heads for the price of 1. Even if they're not good heads, there's 2 of them. But on stage and after, we had to each get paid. And so the television that we did back then, we did Mike Douglas, we did Make Me Laugh, we did, I can't remember, whatever, all those shows, the late night shows. We got more pushback, even though when we did do it, it worked. But, the Mike Douglas people really believed in us and really supported us. We were in a competition called Callback. That was before Star Search. Star Search, actually, it was the model for Star Search. And Loban and Barkley hosted it. And we won. It was like, then you come back and then you win again. And it was that whole kind of thing. And we were a team, and that we shouldn't have won because we weren't doing straight stand-up. But guess what? The audience liked us, and the judges or whoever it was liked us. So we won. But yet it didn't necessarily open every door. It would have opened for someone else that was more standard. And the standard is in the head of the booker. Just know that. Because you can kill.
It's always been like that.
And you can kill, and you're sure you got it and you didn't get it. But it's the same with an audition. And then you find out, the kid they cast doesn't look anything like me. So that's why I didn't get it. Or
my favorite story.
Look at that stuff.
Yeah, my favorite story about this is great because this is before Lane, so it's got to be over 30 years ago, right? So I get an audition for the One Night Stands on HBO, okay, at the Improv. This is the type, you'll both understand what I'm going to say here. It was the type of set where I was on stage already spending my money. Do you know what I mean? You know how you get out of your body? And you guys know I don't do that. And I'm like, I'm going to get a new car. Like I'm already okay. I get off stage, everyone's applauding. I was like, I got this. I didn't get it. And it was just like, and that's a whole other thing because the person at the time who was running HBO did not like me personally, but that's a whole other thing. Right. But I was like, well, did I hear the wrong thing? Did I not do well? And then like 2 weeks later, another comic who was in the room goes, hey, so when are you filming? So I felt better because the comic saw that I killed, but it didn't matter. It didn't fucking matter. It was just like, all right, I thought I was.
Well, that's the way, you find out, it's funny because something similar happened with AGT. And I thought, my last show, it wasn't the greatest, but I thought I was good enough to go to the next level because I had seen acts do a lot worse than I did. And I didn't go. But they told me I wasn't going to go that morning, and it's like, how do you know I'm not going to go? Because it's not as real as you would like it to, people.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
When reality shows first came out, I remember that because we were working in that world, and they would shoot a bunch of stuff, people are all in a house or whatever. And then there is a whole crew of people that should have been getting writer credit, but they were getting segment producer credits that view all the footage and then go, let's make a storyline about this. And then they sit down with that reality person and they say, don't talk about it like it's in the past. And they make them say these sound bites so that they can segue from this to this to this.
Well, that was the morning of the show I got bounced off, which was a live show. We were dress rehearsal and they were putting the people who were going to get bounced off, they placed them on the stage and they're like, Julia, you stand here. You're going home tonight. I go,
yeah.
Right, I'm going home tonight.
Wow.
Like, maybe I'm not.
Ladies, I hate to tell you this, but we're at the 50-minute mark. So
here we go.
let's end with that. That was just talking about AGT and all the. That was perfect. That's a perfect way to end this. Julia, do we have anything you need to plug?
Oh, I just happen to have Christmas presents. If you haven't gotten them for your loved one,
And Barb?
Oh, I'll just plug Steve's book because I don't do anything. I'm his loser girlfriend. Okay.
I'm not even going.
How to Kill in Comedy by Steve North. Oh my God, it's selling like crazy. And he's got people from all over the world in his classes now because he can. And that's the good side of COVID.
Yeah, it's a great book. I've told people every time he posts, I repost it. It really is. It's a great book. So Barb, I love you. I can't wait to come to California and sleep in my bedroom.
I know. Yeah. And you've got a toy chest in your room now, Carole.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, because my kids are going to use your room. I know. I hope that's okay.
It was so nice to meet you, Barb,
and it's comedynorth.com.
comedynorth.com
and Steve is funnycoach.com.
Yes.
Oh, and juliascotti.com, by the way, now has all of the Jesus at the Wawa stories up. So for those of you who are fans of those, go to juliascotti.com.
Cool. So, lady, everyone watching and who will be watching in the future, stay tuned. We have plenty more guests coming up. This has always been a pleasure. I wish we could stay here for 2 hours, but I've only paid for an hour. So I'm going to end the broadcast and then shoot out of here. I love you both, Barb. We will talk.
So fun. Thank you. These are two of the funniest women of a certain age on the planet. They're also two of the funniest comedians on the planet. Right. So I just want to say that.
And kiss Steve for me. And I love you both.